Thank you so very much for joining me tonight. I go by Lune, and today I'm going to be just sharing with you a little conversation about nightmares. This has kind of been a requested topic with not much specific direction in terms of like questions or thoughts on nightmares. So I'm just going to share my perspective of nightmares from a energetic perspective. I'm a esoteric. I teach in the esoteric realm. I don't put myself above anyone or anything like that. But this is kind of what I love to talk about, and I love to share things that I find helpful. So hence the teacher aspect there, but it's not a guru kind of situation for sure. I am going to create a ASMR style session to support this, but I wanted to separate them because, I don't know, I just felt for whatever reason called to separate the discussion and the ASMR portion, like energy work portion. So I will say, just to kind of introduce the mood that I'm in, we've only just today got a huge relief that Hurricane Dorian has passed by, and there was not a lot of damage here at all. The winds were like a storm. It wasn't even that bad, but it was quite terrifying. So I'm in a little bit of a weird mood, I guess, like, whoa, like right in the weeds. I feel very stagnant, as in like cooped up too. So just to put that out there in case I'm weird at all or anything extra weird. But moving forward, essentially from a teaching, what I would teach specifically on nightmares is that they are tools that are helping us kind of track where we are. There's obviously different levels of nightmares, like if you watch a scary movie or something influences you in some aspect during the day and you have a nightmare about it, like, well, that's just kind of what kind of popped up in the subconscious. It was like compartmentalizing in some way the experience that you had. You can't really, not much you can do about that. I used to love scary movies even when I was very, very little. Like It, the old It was one of my favorites. But afterwards I would put on The Little Mermaid, and clear that out. So that would be like my only advice if you have a experience could potentially lead to a scary dream. Clear it out with some Disney or something that you find to contrast, balance, tip the scales a little bit. But when it comes to more specifically the nightmares that I think people would be asking more about, which would be recurring or intense or debilitating feeling, if I can put it that way, even though it is in the dream space, I'll first talk about recurring nightmares and just share that you're going to see nightmares in your life kind of come in themes. I think a lot of us can relate to that, and almost like markers of time or periods of time. There were many, many years as a child I would dream of like those giant tidal wave dreams where you're like running away from a giant wave, and that's like a kind of common dream. Other times I've had dreams from like scary experiences, like a scary ex who scared the crap out of me, and I like had nightmares about him for ages, like this is so long ago, and I still have dreams about him. But this is a kind of personal share I'm going to work with as an example. My first dreams of him were horrifying, like horror movie kind of stuff, like home invasion kind of stuff, stalking, those kind of things, because it was a real threat to me. But as I work through my journey, and this is something I've dreamt about for like 5 years, 8 years, like this isn't something like short term at all. And that was like when it was bad. It's kind of progressed. And essentially the dream, I can reflect now on the pattern of the dream as a total whole over all of those years. And see that they went from extremely terrifying, where I'd wake up like scared and like freaked out, into like now I've had dreams about him where he was like very chill and like very peaceful, and I felt like I have truly healed something there to have that outcome. You might have dreams such as like the tidal wave kind of one, or something that's kind of specific, like your brakes going out in your car, or like, you know, you're gonna falling, like those kind of typical nightmares, if I can say, or like ones we all have. And there's definitely a lot of research you can do to see what other people associate those things with. Tidal waves, I think, was like overwhelm, like fear, overwhelm of some kind. The stalking thing was like another fear. They're usually fear-based in some aspect. I mean, that's kind of obvious. I guess I should have started with that, but it's kind of obvious. But it's leading through something else. Like it's being expressed through, it's being experienced through your subconscious during dream time to bring something to your attention that you're processing. Sometimes it's not even and you have to actively work on this, but it's like letting you know, like, yo, this is the theme that you're working on. This is what's going on a very subliminal, subconscious level during your dream time. Like, this is what we're working out, or this is your little check-ins on where you are with something that perhaps is not completely validated to you. Going back to the experience of this like person and having nightmares about them. It's not to say I needed to heal something of the relationship necessarily. Maybe it was. I honestly don't know. But it was more just letting me know that there was something I was working through, and it felt like it was never gonna end. Like I never thought that I would have good dreams about this person. And I wouldn't say they're good, but they're very amicable at this point. Like very like, wish you well kind of thing. And I guess I can reflect and say specifically for this person that during my spiritual journey and during my process of detachment and reflection and healing, I did look back, and instead of seeing this guy as like a total like scary person or whatever, I just saw him as a person, you know, and don't want none of that, but like, love to you, sir, you know, like that kind of thing, if that makes sense. Now, then there's other dreams, right? So I'd say that regardless, this is something we're working through. This is like my overarching theme of nightmares, overall with these recurring kind of ones, where it's a story that's coming that you're able to like glimpse into your subconscious. It might be directly related, it might not be, but it's letting you know that there is something that is in the process of healing, of working itself out in some way. There are other dreams that we might have that aren't, a scary experience that you've had, like if you've ever been in something tragic like a hurricane, maybe you have nightmares about hurricanes. Like that's what I'm trying to share with that like first person trauma kind of aspect of, nightmares. Then kind of similar to like the ocean, the waves or whatever, or, the brakes not stopping, or your teeth falling out, or whatever, again, like recurring kind of, if we could say typical, we all kind of have them, nightmares. There might be ones that seem a bit more beyond you, like fear for no reason, or what's chasing me, or I have this one, sometimes I haven't had it in ages, but I'll just be in a situation, like in my dream, in a house of some kind, like not my own house, but in a house of some kind. And this like, I'll be like, something's here, or like, here it comes, or like something. And it would feel like this like pressure. And I'd be like trying to fight like really, really hard and like screaming kind of like against it. And I'd usually wake up like through that process. And I can't quite put my finger on what it was. Like, believe me, I've looked into the symbolism. Yeah, it could be tied to house stuff. It could be tied to overwhelm as well or something. It could be tied to being afraid of my own power in some way, or like not facing up to my full power. But I have to just trust that whatever it is, like I'm just working on it, because this is part of the thing that a lot of people who get into the spiritual path, particularly ones who want to work with other people, such as myself, like Reiki practitioners or other healing arts practitioners, readers, stuff like that, intuitive workers, that kind of thing. When they first get started, especially the ones who are very eager, it can feel like they're not doing enough, like, well, what's next? I was this way. Okay, level 1, take the class. Level 2, okay, I'm going to take this class on the side. I'm going to meet up here. I'm going to go to this Reiki share. Oh, just like really like trying to get your hands on everything. But it's not forcible too. Like at the same time, like, yes, we can do research, but life has to bring you the lessons. You have to get ready for whatever life's going to throw at you. And that's kind of where like the process of really authentically living and breathing and being able to teach or share from that perspective happens, because you've been through it and you're truly firsthand supportive, if I can say it that way. And of course, you know, knowledge of energy work and stuff like that obviously goes into it too. But tying that back to nightmares and working through things, like sometimes I can identify what things mean in my dreams, and sometimes, and you would be able to too, you know, and sometimes we just have to like see it as like a check-in, like what's going on, and just honor that. All that said, I'm trying to kind of share like it's out of our hands, so to speak, and we shouldn't put tons of pressure on ourselves. But at the same time, my approach is to meet the subconscious with the subconscious. And I have to access my subconscious through my conscious mind. So I have to actually think, I'm going to access my subconscious. I'm going to implant this. I'm going to tell it to work through this more like more specifically, because I can tell that there's something going on below the surface, thus these recurring nightmares that I need to work through, and I can't consciously identify it. That's a mouthful, but I hope that you understand what I'm trying to say. If I have been having these dreams that there's this presence, boom, like a thing drops almost, and it's like the weight is there and there's nothing I can do to fight against it. If I know that that happens, but I can't figure it out, like what the heck is that? Like I'm just going to continue on my journey and trust it's just going to work out. Might be years, who knows? Or, you know, or in addition, we could set intentions consciously to subconsciously work through that undefined, unidentifiable at this point issue that is below the surface. So for me to say, all right, subconscious, I am assigning you the task of processing whatever that is. If it's a lesson, make me ready for it. Bring my attention to it. Make it known to me so I can work on it. And if this is something that just has to happen without my direct conscious attention, that's your job, and I assign you the task of doing so. And, you know, with any subconscious work, it is best to repeat, we could say, as a general guideline, or do so in a very specific ritual as well. Not specific, but what we feel as a, official ritual of some kind to access the subconscious mind. So let's say like a candle ritual, building a crystal grid, journaling, burning, rewriting yourself, things along the line of that. All right, so that's just my little discussion on nightmares, and it's a preface it to the next video that I'll be sharing with you, which is a ASMR session to support with accessing the subconscious mind to work through recurring nightmares and process things so we don't have to have those experiences. At the same time, I almost forgot to say, we should all just also get comfortable with the scary. Like, get comfortable with the scary. Make the scary your homie. Make the scary your buddy, you know, your pal. If you realize that everything is not all that scary, you know, like if you get to true detachment and, you know, at least what we're able to experience here, even scary stuff won't scare you so much, you know. So if you release the components, you know, or these ideas that things are either good or bad, you know, it is all a matter of perspective. What's good for someone might be bad for another person, kind of thing, right? Maybe that monster has a mom, you know, maybe that spooky energy that's whatever that is in my dream, maybe it's trying to tell me a message and it's just really loud and it's overwhelming for me, you know. Like, if we look at things that way too, it's like we take away any scary power it had, then it's the experience, and we are able to be like, oh, like I don't have nightmares at all anymore. Like, I'll have them, but they're not like scary. They're just, I'm just like, whoa, what was that? You know, like kind of thing. And you can get there too if you work towards it, and just kind of getting used to it a little bit, you know. Make it funny, make a joke, make it like cut a little joke with that scary thing. It'll really make a big difference. All right, I hope this helps in some way. And again, tomorrow a video. You know, I have a website. I have a Patreon community. I'm still grateful for you guys. You have been so supportive during all of my move and this hurricane business, and I just love you so much. Thank you. And for those of you who I get to work with, of course, those of you who I'll be seeing out in California in just like less than 2 weeks at this point, you know, like amazing. So just thank you so much. Of course, as always, and a little different this time, from the bottom of my heart, I bow to the divine we share.